What is up, everybody? I am Katrina from In Cat We Trust, and this is a special episode because I have two special guests with me, and we will be talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. So, fellas, introduce yourself. You can start, Lewis, because you're on my right of the screen.
All right, so I'm Lewis. You guys probably see me having a podcast, and I had Katrina on my show. So yeah.
And George.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is George. Probably don't know me because I don't, I'm not on anything. But what's up? I'm just here to talk about this movie. Peep the fitted, see the little Spider-Man, New York, bing bong. I am ready to discuss this movie.
So before we break it down, what was your overall thoughts about it? Because I feel like we have a lot of Spider-Man content over the years. We had Tobey Spider-Man, we have Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, we have a lot. But I want to say this is probably my favorite Spider-Man movie, of all of them. And I don't really care about Andrew, but that's another rant for another day. I don't really care about Andrew Garfield too much, but Tom Holland is my guy, and so there's a lot of aspects of the movie that I really, really enjoyed. So what were your guys overall thoughts about the movie as a whole?
I give it a 10.
Go ahead, Lewis. You kick it off.
And I really don't give movies 10, but it was all down 10. Everything I wanted out of the movie, plus some extras. Would I have mind maybe a part 2, or cutscene? I guess a part 2 you could call it. I wouldn't have not mind a part 2 if they made half of this and then the other half in the other movie. It was great to see Tobey. It was great to see Andrew, and it was just great overall to just see them work together as Spider-Man.
What about you, George?
Yeah, so going off of what Lewis said, so truth be told, I've actually seen this movie 4 times already, and I'm going for my 5th time today at 5:00 actually with my nephew and my family because they haven't seen it yet. Every single time I've gone with people who haven't seen it yet, and I'm just to tag along, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're paying all this money," but I'm not dumb. I got that Regal app. I pay $23.50 a month, unlimited movies. It's the greatest thing ever. But to get back to this movie. So on opening night, I saw it, and I walked out of there, and I'm like, this movie was good. This movie was good. It was a lot of too much comedy for me, actually. I was just like, I could have done without some of it. But by the second time I saw it, third time I saw it, this movie is amazing. I mean, it's great. It's got everything you want in it. Tom Holland he's the Spider-Man. Hands down, number 1, best Spider-Man they have. Sorry, Tobey fans. Sorry, Andrew fans. This kid is great. I'm not even gonna front. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm a grown ass man. Tom Holland makes me cry every single time this guy's in the movies. Every time he puts on that suit, he just what was that? Not Civil War. The one before Endgame. He had me crying. He had me crying in Endgame. This dude had me crying in this movie. I'm like, yo. Tom Holland, stop being so good. Stop being so good. You're great. You bring the emotion out of me. But listen, I loved it. I don't want to dive in because I don't know how exactly you want to go about talking about the movie, but just as a whole, phenomenal. Marvel never misses. Never.
Yeah, I'm a Tobey fan, and I think that's more nostalgia. Now you think about it, I hated Spider-Man 3. That's another rant again for another day. There were so many things wrong with Spider-Man 3, but I loved Tobey. I didn't really like Andrew, though I actually really enjoyed him in this movie. He wasn't as irritating, and I was just I don't know why he irritated me so much in their basic Spider-Man movies, but his parts for this was actually perfect. And I agree, Tom does make me cry too, but I'm a big crybaby, so I was a mess when Infinite, even though I knew he was getting solo movies, and I knew this in my head. I was oh, he's getting solo movies, but I was but wait, where are you going, Peter? And I'm sitting here sad about this. Let's not mess with the homie from Queens. Queens here. Let's not do that. And I was upset. So even though I knew he was getting more movies, so he definitely does evoke an emotional response from me as well. I think they picked the perfect person to play Peter Parker, and he's also younger, and it gives him time. Because I mean, I know they kind of said he didn't really want to play no Spider-Man anymore, and I'm like, let's not play. Don't play those kind of games. Let's Tom. I get it, but let's give me like a couple more movies, and then you can go on to the sunset and do whatever. So what is your thoughts about the very beginning? Because it was I've seen like there was memes floating around before the movie came out where it was like when Tobey Maguire's was kind of his identity was revealed a bit, and it was like the people was like protecting him, and then you see Tom version being like revealed to everybody, and it was such a different response where everybody was like, oh, we're for like Mysterio, and it's like such an odd thing. Like, yeah, I didn't know this guy. Yeah, I didn't know Mysterio like that. Why was it's like the way that people rallied behind him? It kind of reminded me a bit of social media to an extent, like how we might not know the whole story, but people are quick to pick sides and quick to have, I guess, opinions and thoughts of situations.
Absolutely.
We don't really know what happened. So that was for me very interesting, just as how like Tom Holland's Peter Parker literally saved the world. Like he literally helped bring people back. You know, like he did all of this, and even though there was destruction, as it always is in hero movies, things get destroyed. He's still, you know, he's the youngest member of the Avengers. He was the youngest member, and he did a lot. And y'all just so quick to just be like, "Oh, F Spider-Man, we're about Mysterio," and y'all didn't even know what Mysterio was doing. So, what was your thoughts about that? Because I thought it was a really interesting dynamic, especially for how things is with like social media and people in general. I thought it was a really interesting dynamic. So, what was your thoughts about like the opening?
Well, spoiler alert for anybody that has not seen the movie, but you know, get out of here right now because
right.
we already said too much for y'all ears. But get out of here.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're way past that.
So as you know, Spider-Man is not Avenger no more. Let's keep it real right there. But the beginning it felt a little political, just because everybody, like you said, nobody knows Mysterio. Nobody was like, oh, who's this guy? Why did Spider-Man try to stop him? Blah, 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 blah. Everybody just saw him like, oh, he was doing good. He had this technology to save people and yada, yada, yada. And that's all everybody saw. And then when, of course, he, what's the word? Finagled the video a little bit. He made it seem like, oh, Spider-Man was the one that was bad. Spider-Man was the one that caused all these, you know, attacks, and I was just the one trying to save him. Of course, for everybody who's a Spider-Man fan, you should know what Mysterio does as a villain. And yeah, the beginning got me a little pissed, but then I'm like, you know, it is what it is because that's people's views, and I'm like, just how our views are just like Spider-Man's the greatest, and just like, you know, every time J. Jonah always gets me pissed off. Because he's like, oh, Spider-Man's a menace. Spider-Man's this. Blast that guy. And I'm like, oh my God, like, can you stop for like 1 second? And like just see that like he's good, even though like, yeah, he's not part of like the government or like any ways of like, oh, police force or army or whatever you want to see it as, but like he's just stabs him. It's like, no, he's a bad guy. But overall, like that whole thing just brings how the movie comes together.
What about you, George?
Yeah, to piggyback off of what Lewis said, like J. Jonah Jameson, like I can't stand that guy. I mean, in this movie specifically, like by the end of it, I was like, yo, enough with this guy. Like, you are the worst, J. Jonah Jameson. Like, yo, let this guy live. Like, he's doing good things. But, you know, like it's the same thing if you go into the DC universe, you know, like Batman gets the same shit. You know, he's a vigilante justice. And it's like, yo, will you stop? This guy's done way more good than bad. You know, like people are just trying to throw dirt on his name. And I mean, but that's also, you know, the society we live in, like in the real world. Like you can't do too good because people will find a reason to try to hate on you. You didn't do enough or whatever. So yeah, I definitely hate that aspect. But as far as the movie went, I was, you know, I like the fact that it literally picked up right off where they ended the other movie. You know, at the end of that end scene credit where he, you know, said who who he was, his real name and his identity. I love the fact that the movie started off right from that scene. I love it. And they're like, "Oh, are you Spider-Man's girlfriend?" And then that one girl, all he does is just like, "Oh, move away," and she's like, "Spider-Man hit me," and I'm like, "Oh, that is definitely society. Like that's real. Like they're definitely gonna try to get you for any little thing that possibly happens." So like I started laughing. I was like, "Yo, there's realism here. Like there's a lot of realism."
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh, come on, man! Like, get out of here." But,
yeah, that part I was like, "Sis,
it was,
stop!" Like he didn't even. All he did was like try to get
stop.
you away.
Yeah, guy barely touched you. Get out of here.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was mad about that.
He was just trying to web away. And they got the one person who like tried to jump and tug on his legs. Like, get out! What are you gonna do? Stop him? Stupid.
The only thing I would say,
but no, I didn't. I wasn't up.
Yeah, like it's supposed to be New Yorkers, and I'm like, we might care to an extent, but we're not going to be this level of like. Let's go see. If I have to go about my day, I am not doing all this. Like you're not delaying my day, so I'm not sitting here like let me pull on your webs, let me pull on your. I don't care that much. I really don't.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So it's like, what New Yorkers is this? What New York is this?
It's you're in my way. We gotta go.
Basically, like the fact that everybody's in this area, I'm like, now this is like tourist area. Can we move? Like, can you speed this up? So I was like, this clearly can't be real New Yorkers because New Yorkers don't. We kind of ignore a lot of things. We're like, things will happen real crazy, and we're just like, okay, and we keep going about our day. Like we're not sitting here depressed about it.
Yeah, it was just that whole crowd of people was just
head down, keep it moving.
We're just like, oh, all right, Spider-Man's doing whatever now. Like, okay, cool. Like, we're gonna see him flying around anywhere. Like, we're not gonna be like, yo, get Spider-Man. He killing people out here. Like, no, because then we would have done that with like cops and everybody and firefighters and whatever other people that's robbing stores. Like, we ain't caring. We walking. We let Spider-Man do his job. Like, go ahead. We ain't stopping.
All the stuff that happens on the FTA, and I'm like, listen, there's some shit that happens every day, and most of us are just like, as long as it doesn't delay the train, we don't care. We do not care. It is not that deep. So I was like, all right, these can't clearly be real New Yorkers because New Yorkers does not act like this. But I think one of the things I got right away was MJ. I loved how she was with him. I don't know if I'm good for writing with people, but I don't know, like if I'm to the level where it's some of the stuff Tom was involved with the villains and stuff, I would have been like, that would be my cue to like, we can be friends. Tom would be friends, Peter. I don't know if I would want to be involved with all of this. It's too much. But she was writing. I respected her so much to the very end. She rode for him. And I kind of like that it wasn't necessarily off of Mary Jane. Like it's MJ, but it's not MJ. And I like that it was just a different type of character to kind of play off. And then she's really sarcastic, and I'm sarcastic, so I liked her for that too. Yeah. So what are your thoughts about like the dynamic with like him and her, but also him and Ned?
I like him and Ned.
Oh, you want to go ahead, Lewis? Go ahead. You go first.
I like him and Ned. I think it was always like, if at first I didn't like it because if I'm like, oh look, a Batman and Robin, or like another team where like Spider-Man, as we all know it, but I know there is a universe like that, like he had a person on his side to like help him out, and but we always know as Spider-Man is the solo character, that like he's gonna do it himself no matter what. Like even if somebody's like, I want to help you, he's always like, no, I'm gonna put you in danger, I'm gonna this, I'm gonna that, like I'm gonna do this myself. And so that part I was like, but then I was like, you know what, this is a different Spider-Man universe. So, you know, and the comics is always like that too. Like there's always different Spider-Mans, different universes, different stories, that how it starts off. Him and I do like his girl, but that's not my Mary Jane. Sorry to say, and I know a lot of people's gonna be like, "Oh, you hating," or like I already had somebody's like, "Why? Because she black?" And I'm like, "No, it's not because she's black. Like, no, that's just not my Mary Jane. Mary Jane is just like, oh, you know, spider baby or whatever. You know, she always says like crazy stuff to Spider-Man, and you know, and that's how it is. Like her, she's very sarcastic. I love it. That like it keeps the dynamic of the movie, and But she's just like not my Mary Jane, but I do love their love connection. I do love that like she's a ride or die. Like if you're gonna get knocked out, I'm getting knocked out too. I don't care if like if even if you're miles away, like I'm gonna still fight for you some way somehow. Like she always just finds a solution where like the Mary Janes that we know is just like, oh, damsel in distress. Like she wasn't the damsel in distress. Um but yeah, I do like this Mary Jane people. Don't be hating on me, okay?
No, I get that part because like the MJ I know also was the redheaded, girl called him Tiger, and so it was different. And I like that they didn't decide to make Mary Jane like her MJ. They didn't make it Mary Jane. It was like her name's Michelle. It's
Yeah.
just that's her initials, and I'm okay. I was like, you know what? I'm okay with this version of this. It's not like you're not trying to change it, like change what we know Mary Jane to be. You kind of made her stand on her own, and so I like that. So I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do love her as MJ. I mean, besides the fact that Zendaya, however you want to pronounce it, she's gorgeous. I love that girl. Like, I'll watch her in literally anything. But I love their dynamic as a relationship, and it's funny because with Ned there being by their side, me and my friends actually like we have a word that we use. So like whenever a friend of mine is in a relationship and I'm the third wheel, we're a throuple. You guys are the couple, but I'm here with you. We're a throuple. And that's what they are. Like they are a living throuple, those three. Like they do everything together. And that's cool. So like when I saw that dynamic, I was like, oh, I kind of feel like I'm Ned, but like a cooler version of Ned. But I liked it. I liked it. You could see like how tight they are, him and Peter, being friends, and it's cool. So like I appreciate the fact that they're in high school, and they just got that bond together. It fits the three of them, Even outside of the movies, like when you see them, like paparazzi on the streets and stuff like that, like you could tell like they enjoy each other's company. Obviously, Tom Holland and Zendaya, but it's cool to see them together like that.
So I guess we can go to, right before things kind of get really crazy in the movie, which is when he goes to Doctor Strange. And Wong is my guy only because he literally is like, I gotta say what I have to say and bounce. And that is me. It's like, I don't do this shenanigans. I don't want to be involved when shit goes down. And so he like said what he said, and he's always right out the door. So he's my guy off of that alone. It's like he knows, like shit's about to go down. I need not to be here.
Yeah,
so
he's a real New Yorker. He just keeps it moving.
Exactly. Like he was like, oh, you about to do something? Like I gave you my warning, and now it's time for me to dip. And I love that he's always just that guy who's like, he says what he needs to say really quick, and then he's gone. And I'm like, that's me, because it's like, let's be real. I don't want to be involved in all of this. All of this too much for me. I don't want to deal with all of this. There's too much shenanigans for me. So when he goes to Doctor Strange, which I thought even the plea was so kind, just so kind about it. Like, I just want to help my friends. And I even why it seemed kind of selfish, but then it didn't, because it's like his friends were suffering, his girlfriend was suffering because of him. So what was your thoughts about the conversation? Because I felt like it was like Doctor Strange was like kind of back and forth, like be respectful, like don't call me sir, but then it kind of feels weird that you're not calling me like by my first name, but then he kind of respected him for the fact that everything they've been through together with the Avengers. So what was your thoughts about that dynamic? Because I felt like that at first. I honestly thought Doctor Strange might not have been Doctor Strange because of how willing he was to kind of go do the spell. It just seemed so easy. Like he was just like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. And I'm like, is he really this? Like, I know he's a bit egotistical, but is he really this? Like, whatever, fuck the rules type of. I don't know. He seemed more inclined to follow the rules when they were in like Endgame and Infinity War more so than this. So I was surprised by that. But what is your thoughts as far as that whole conversation leading up to everything kind of all hell breaking loose?
So I'll say you fell for oh, that's Dark Doctor Strange. I didn't because I knew it, but because I just knew like they're not gonna introduce him yet. If y'all didn't watch What If, yeah, then go watch that and you'll see what we're talking about with Doctor Strange. But I knew that he wasn't gonna be introduced. It was just the whole like the timeline was just like it's not that time for Dark Doctor Strange. But their dynamic is great. And of course, we're in New York, so you're gonna hear all the sirens and crap.
This
No.
happens to me all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know how this is in New York. I was gonna say, you know how I know this is a New York show? I can hear all the sirens in the back, and I think it's perfect. I think
For
it's
real.
great.
So I'm in New York, so we all in New York.
Yeah.
Queens all day. I'm not too sure where you at, George, but Queens all day. Um, but yeah, their dynamic was great as always. Like Doctor Strange he is like he's like very up there. His ego is very high, so it's just like, but he is the ones to like more bend the rules than Wong, as you said. Wong is like by the book, like don't do this, don't do that, because you know where it's gonna all lead to. It's not gonna lead correctly, and of course, like I love that Strange was like there, but then, I was just like Doctor Strange. I was getting pissed off because Peter was like, "No, don't do this. What about this person? What about that person?" Like, my guy, get it together. Put everything in one freaking spell. So I can, let it rip, and then we're gonna go out with our lives because I can't stand you no more right now because you're messing me up. And that's how, like, I felt like Doctor Strange. I was getting mad. I was really getting mad. And then, like, to find out you didn't even call the school to be like, oh, can you give my friends and me a second chance? I know I'm Spider-Man and this and that and blah, blah, blah. But, like, if you don't want to give me a chance, at least give my two best friends, Ned and Mary, MJ, because they want it. They really want it, blah, blah, blah. And then for him to be like, yeah, he's like, oh, you can do that? Like, they dumb down Peter Parker. Like, this guy is the most smartest kid, and you're gonna dumb him down by saying, "Oh, you can call the college admissions." Like, I was kind of tight at that scene, but I didn't, because he was so worried about his friends. But I was also like, Peter Parker ain't that dumb to be like, "Oh yeah, I could have called admissions." I was just like, but that the whole scene with them was great, like A1.
See, but to argue against your point, Lewis, like, let's be real. You know what I mean? I'm forgetful. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you forget your cell phone. Sometimes you forget your wallet. You're out here saving the world. People just released your identity. You're struggling. So, like, college probably isn't even, like, top priority on your list of things. And then all of a sudden you get this letter and you're like, well, damn, I guess I can't get in. So, like, I can understand the whole not knowing that you could have just made a simple phone call, like, hey, let's talk about this, So, like, I get that. But as far as, like, the relationship between Strange and Peter, I almost look at Strange as Strange looks at him as a kid. I don't know necessarily like his son, but he understands. Well, he remembers, that, wow, you know what? We saved the world. We did all of this, but you are a child, so you make child mistakes, just like all children do. And he joked about it. Of course, because of the movie, it had to go down the way it did. But yeah, no, Peter, maybe like pre-draft, maybe think about what you want the spell to really be before you go out there casting it and you're like, oh, I forgot about this people. So I get it. It makes sense. You don't want everybody to forget who Spider-Man is. Like, certain people need to know. But there's more that I want to talk about that aspect, but we'll get to that toward the end.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a couple of loopholes in there.
Yeah, so once he does the spell and then stuff start happening, we get the first blast from the past, rather, which is Doc Ock, which I didn't really care about. If we're going about villains that I really like out of the movies we've gotten so far, I would say Green Goblin is probably my favorite one. And all the iconic scenes and memes we've gotten from those scenes he was in. So he's my favorite of all the villains we've had so far. And so Doc Ock appearing, I actually really enjoyed him a lot more in this than I did in the movie he was with Toby. I don't know why, but I felt like I really enjoyed like the lines they gave him. And even when he was fighting Tom's Peter, it was just, I don't know, really refreshing. So I guess we can just start breaking down the villains as they appear. But like, how did you guys feel? Because I know I got hyped when I first saw him appear. I was like, yes. So I was like, okay, Toby's world, Toby's villains popped back up, and it was Doc Ock first. So how was you guys like when we started getting the villains and it started off with him? How was y'all feeling as like watching it, but also as like the fan, like Toby's the childhood version of Spider-Man for us. We grew up watching like Toby's Spider-Man. We were a lot younger than we are now. So how was y'all like? How did y'all feel when we got like the first glimpse into him? Knowing we knew he would be there, but to see it finally kind of happen on the screen, like this is Doc Ock. How do you guys feel about that?
Trailer, first of all, when I saw him, I was hype already. I was like, yes, here we go. This is it. Overall, I always liked him. I always liked the actor, and I always liked Doc Ock. Like, it matches Peter's smartness. Like, he's smart and much wiser than Peter. Like, Peter knows his stuff, but like this guy's been through 3 years of research, years of schooling and whatever else he's done to get where he is right now, to making that machine with the sun. He was like, where's my machine, where's the sun? And he's like, you destroyed it, you took it from me. And of course, Tom Holland's Peter Parker didn't know. He was just like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I don't even know you. And he was like, no, like, you're Peter. Because of course, when you see Spider-Man, the Spider-Man's just Spider-Man outfit, even if it's a different color. Because once you have that symbol on your chest, the Spider-Man, that's it. You're not changing nobody's mind. The whole scene was great. Like his fighting, him knowing about nanotechnology when it like back then, nanotechnology probably wasn't even in that universe. He just knew about nanotechnology. Because as the years go, things change. And what else? The fight scene was good. The lady from the school's mission, she was hilarious, saying, Peter, help me, damsel in distress. And then afterwards, when she saved him and he did all his technology stuff on his wrist, she was just like, I need to speak with this guy, like total New York like person. You were tight, and you're like, you know what, I need to speak to this person real quick. Like, this ain't gonna end right on Peter, it's gonna end on me. But that whole scene was good.
She actually gave me like black person of like this is me in this scenario. Like, you just almost killed me on some bridge. Like, listen here, Octavius.
Yeah.
Now we can have a conversation, because what is this? So when she did that, I did laugh. This is such a black woman move. Like, we don't play those shenanigans. So I was like, we really be like forgetting that we were just dangling off the side of the bridge. Like, so you just had me hanging. Like, what's this? So that I did laugh, because I was like, that would so be me in that situation. Like, so listen here, Octavius. First of all, let's not do this again. Yeah. Oh, let me introduce David.
I am so sorry. I am super late to this review. Oh, man.
I feel like you guys should at least know who he is. We've done quite a few shows together. But yeah, he's joining us with this as well. So if you didn't know, David, we were talking about Doc Ock's appearance. So we'll get to you after George. George, what was your thoughts on that?
David, what's up, man? Welcome. Haven't been on a show with you in quite some time.
I know, it's been a while.
When it comes to Doc Ock, I mean, yeah, listen, it has been a while. But yeah, so when it came to Doc Ock, coming up out of the cement on the bridge, I was just like, yo, this is cool. That's when like the movie started to like get good for me in the theater. One thing, I don't know about you guys, like when you saw it, I'm always an opening night guy. Because just like wrestling, I love the pops. The pops in the movie, are great. And you know what? Now that I just thought about it, we got to rewind. Do we got to rewind? Yeah, no, we got to rewind. Nobody brought up Matt Murdock.
Oh yeah,
like we didn't even talk about Matt Murdock.
Listen, I popped hard for him.
Like that was.
I was hyped about him too, because that's my guy. I love
everybody.
I love him.
Everybody in the theater popped. Like, as soon as you saw the cane, and they were like, everybody was clapping, and then they showed him, the whole catching of the brick. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool that they gave him, like the 1.5 minutes that he got in there. But to go back to, Doc Ock, I was just like, all right, this is cool. Like, now business is going to pick up. We're going to start getting started, and, everything's going to start happening. And it was cool to see him, man. He looked good, considering all the time. I mean, we're talking 18 years, right? Give or take, between, Tobey Spider-Man and now this one. So to bring back that character, like it definitely was, it was cool. It was awesome to see him. And, the fight scenes, the dangling, like everything he did, the throwing of the cars. And then when it came to the whole, taking off his mask, and he's like, you're not Peter. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Like this is like the kid in me is getting excited. Like, all right, let's continue this movie. Let's just keep going.
David.
No, okay. Just throw me right in the deep end. But yeah. So I personally I enjoyed the scene. I feel like I would have enjoyed it more. You guys are about to hate me right here. So I watched Spider-Man 1, and then I didn't see a Spider-Man all the way up until the Amazing Spider-Man series. So that's when I really started watching, those Spider-Mans. So obviously, I know about, Alien Dude and everything like that. But having watched, the first Spider-Man, it made me really appreciate the Green Goblin scene, especially when I saw the grenade. The theater went crazy when they saw that. So I didn't know that the Green Goblin was supposed to be in this movie. I don't know if it was like, if he was in the trailers. I only got to watch like one trailer. Was he in the trailers?
Yeah, he was in the trailers.
He was in the trailers. Okay.
Well, they just show the ball and they just
His
heard
like
the laugh.
yeah.
And then you saw a person in the sky with the hoverboard. So, but we'll talk about that more. But yeah, he was in the trailers. You can say.
Yeah.
I was actually impressed at how well Doc Ock looked. Like George said, it was a long time. Like I remember being super young and like I was telling other people, like I was always cool. My grandfather worked at Sony, so a lot of times we got to see movies before everybody else did. And so for the Spider-Man movies, we watched all three before we even hit the theaters. And so we had to kind of keep quiet, like, oh, I already know what's gonna happen. And so I just like from that, it's like, okay, this is now me watching a Spider-Man movie with characters I was able to kind of watch before all my friends. I used to brag about that all the time, like, hi, I saw it first, guys. Like we had the cool Spider-Man shirts he used to give us, and like all the Spider-Man like exclusive toys because he worked for Sony. So we always had like the insight a little bit. So like this time I was like, okay, I'm going in like everybody else. Like I don't know exactly what's gonna happen to the level it was gonna happen. So to kind of see like how well Doc Ock looked after all this time, I'm like, dude, like you know how to make the joke the black don't crack. And I'm like, well, you didn't crack either, bro. Like you looking real preserved. His face looks real well preserved for all this time. And I'm like, I've seen him in quite a few movies after Spider-Man and he looked a little older. So I don't know if they did a good makeup job or they just cleaned him up really well, but I'm like, he looked really well for like almost 20 years have passed since he was on, as Doc Ock. So that was cool. And then we got Green Goblin, which it was like a really little taste of it at that moment. But even then, I kind of got hyped of like, he's the one where we got, how it started off us, all the live action part. He kind of started it off, the very first villain. So how was that for you guys as like damn, but it helped. It made it even more better knowing that he actually wanted to do his own stunts, and he's kind of up there now in age, and he wanted to do all his own stunts, and he was not having a stuntman. And I appreciate that a lot more that he actually did all his stunts instead of having somebody else do it. Like
the guy's what, 67?
Yeah, about.
I think he's like 67. I don't know. I like even like people in the 60s, like my dad is the same age. He's 67 and he's still able to, run, play soccer, all that stuff. So I really feel like even though 67 is old, I feel like people are still able to do stuff up until they really start to get into like the late 70s and early 80s. That's when it starts to like, your body starts to deteriorate. So I think that was really cool. I saw an article on that, but you were saying?
Oh no! Well, I mean, listen. I don't know if I'll be doing that at 60. Like my knees pop now. You hear the knee pop. I'm like, God damn! I'm not even that old yet. And you hear the cracking and your back. Like, God damn, my back hurt. And so, so I don't know if that would be me at 67. But it was just cool that he actually wanted to do all his stunts, and he's still very well. Like it felt like it was kind of watching him all over again with Toby. I just really loved him. He was probably one of my favorite parts of the movie, honestly, was his villain. So how do you guys feel once we got, because I think another thing which I was very glad that they did Jamie Foxx a lot better than they did in Amazing Spider-Man. They violated with him and that in Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, Jamie Foxx is a hot mess. I don't know what they thought this was happening, and I felt like they kind of redeemed what they did to him in the Amazing Spider-Man. So what was your thoughts on both Green Goblin and then when we got Electro? What are your thoughts about that? Because I felt like they did him better. He was a lot better done.
I guess I'll go first. I thought, Electro, he was portrayed very well. He's portrayed as this very powerful villain. He seemingly, he seemed unstoppable the whole movie. So when we finally got to the end, I'll skip forward here a little bit just for reference. When we finally got to the end, is that I just want to make something clear. Is that Iron Man's heart?
Yeah.
That was Iron Man's heart, correct? Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was saying that right. But yeah, I thought that was really cool that they still tried to pay tribute to Iron Man a little bit in terms of the movie, even though it was a part of a villain's character. I thought it was portrayed very, very well. And yeah, just overall, just great job.
Yeah. Yeah, that the Stark reactor was of course, like, that has the most power in there, because that kept Tony alive, that kept the suit going and all that. Seeing Green Goblin was amazing. That iconic laugh. Nobody's gonna ever forget that laugh. Like, the same way as like Joker's laugh, you ain't forgetting Green Goblin's laugh. Like, he's just perfect. He's the perfect Green Goblin now. And I don't know if anybody else changed my mind on that. If we do get another Green Goblin, I will accept it for what it is, but is it gonna be like this guy? No. Like, he's just A1 perfect Green Goblin. Electro, everybody still asks me to this day, isn't he supposed to be Shocker? No, that's a different villain. Shocker is Shocker, Electro is Electro. We got a lot of people forget there's two electric guys, but besides that point, Andrew Garfield's Electro wasn't great, and that made me one of the reasons why I didn't like part 2, and was kind of happy when they said, "Oh, we're not doing a part 3," because I didn't want them to continue destroying Spider-Man's character villains. But did they do better? I'm gonna say they did better, but I'm sorry. I know a lot of people might like Jamie Foxx. He's not it for me. Like, he's like his lines was good, but I feel like how he was portraying was kind of like was just like bland. And I like they did better. They gave him, they did the electric mask, which was dope. That's what I wanted to see in the first one, and that he is much more powerful than how he was portrayed in the other one. But I just felt like it was like they could have done more with Jamie Foxx, and I wish they did. But I know with a lot of characters, that takes time to like be like, all right, do this, do that, and they just gotta keep moving forward. But yeah.
So when it comes to like all the villains, hands down, I mean, you guys have already said it, but William Dafoe, I mean, he was the best. He killed this movie. Everybody who has seen it so far, they're like, "Oh, what's your favorite part?" Or like, "What'd you like? What did I like?" William Dafoe. He's at the top. I loved the Goblin in this movie. He just, I thought he stole the movie. He really did with his performance. He's just so good. Like Lewis said, if you replace him, it's, that's not my Green Goblin. Definitely not my Green Goblin. Like, my Green Goblin is Dafoe, because that guy kills this role. As far as Electro goes, it was cool to see Jamie Foxx. I kind of understand where Lewis is coming from, where like he felt that Jamie Foxx didn't like really fit the bill. I feel that way as well, in the sense that Jamie Foxx is almost too famous for that role. I feel like, when in the very beginning, like, you got to remember when Iron Man came out, Robert Downey Jr. like just got through with like the drugs and stuff. So like he was at a low. He wasn't at his high point. Nobody knew who Captain America was. Nobody was really looking for Chris Evans. No one was looking for Chris Hemsworth as Thor. These people grew over time. So like whenever you have like famous people come in, you're just like, oh, like I hate to go back and talk about DC again while we're doing a Marvel thing. But when Will Smith was cast in Suicide Squad, I'm like, why? Why?
That's a
like,
rant.
bro, you're too famous for this. I'm like, you're way too famous for this. Like, nah, So I understand how you feel, Lewis. Like I just feel like Jamie Foxx's was probably too famous for this, part. It could have went to somebody else. But
Yeah.
as far as what he looked like and everything, like yeah, he definitely looked way better than when he did, in the other movies. And he did bring that humor to him. Again, don't want to fast forward, but he had that one thing he said when they were inside the Statue of Liberty, and we'll save that for later. But when he said it, I was just like, that little Easter egg, maybe for the future, with hopes that we get a real life version. But yeah, it was cool, And then when you debuted Electro, you also met Sandman, and I like the actor. The character itself, he's probably like the lower level villain for me. I don't know about the very bottom. He might be above Electro, but I don't need him. Like it was cool to see him. Did I need it? No. Am I ever looking for Sandman? No. But it was cool, like in the beginning, how he was helping Tom Holland right there. Like, hey, Peter, and he's like, yeah, I'm not your Peter, but if you could help me out, we'll take care of this, and this would be cool. So. We met him, and like I said, it was cool to see him. Am I looking for him? No. So, Kat, you tell us. How do you feel?
I mean,
Sandman, Electro.
So I didn't really like Sandman either. I felt even with Toby's version when we first got introduced to him, I was like, I mean, I guess it's just an extra villain to have. It's like sometimes you have the main villain and there's multiple villains. Like you mentioned DC, but like Batman has the villains, but then there's like two extra villains, or there's always the extra villain. So I felt like he was the extra villain. Like you just need a side person to kind of throw some story to. Here's Sandman. So I did like that they continued his relationship with Toby's Spider-Man when he was like, I'm gonna help you because we became friends. By the end of his Toby's Spider-Man with him, they were kind of on a good space with each other. Like there wasn't really necessarily hero versus villain. So I appreciated that with Sandman. Like he still came back with that like, oh, we were friends until he realized, like, wait a minute, you're not my Peter. And then he kind of, like, was like, well, I don't really trust people. And while I understand that he didn't trust people, I kind of was a bit annoyed with, like, how quickly he kind of switched. I guess when we get to that, when it was, like, all of them kind of with all the Spider-Mans. But I didn't like that so much. I'm like, well, just this quick, you don't really know these villains like that either. And you just ready to kind of ride with them. And it wouldn't be me. But I don't know if I would say I would look it for me. It was just nice to know that he was one of, he was one of Toby's villains, and so it was nice to see it. But I don't know if it would have been like, I wouldn't have necessarily cared too much if he wasn't here. Like, I wouldn't have been like, oh, well, I mean, okay, I just really want to see that Sandman scene. I wouldn't have done that. That would be a whole lie. I would not have been like, damn it, where's that Sandman scene? Like, what's happening, Marvel? I wouldn't have done all that. But it was nice to kind of see them continue that. At least they were on good places when we saw him last. And so it seemed that, oh, I'm going to help you because we're friends now, whatever the case may be. How did you guys feel about the thing they kept calling the dinosaur that they kept like making the jokes about? Oh, he's talking and he had like a whole thing. I felt like they didn't use him well enough, honestly. That was probably my gripe, I feel. And I loved the movie. I just felt like he didn't get that much. They could have, because he looked a little better than he did in The Amazing Spider-Man. I felt that they could have used him a little more than, but they didn't. And I'm not really sure why. He kind of felt like he was one of like the Sandman character as well, like one of the side characters that we kind of just had him here, just to have him here. So what was your thoughts about him? Because I think he's the last one, right?
So I have to agree with you on that. I feel like, so I'm going to backtrack for a second. So, and give my thoughts on, Sandman. So yeah, he was there, but I think it was like just the right amount. It wasn't too much. It wasn't too little. I think he was there in the parts that he needed to be there. He did his job. That's done. And in terms of, what was I going to say? Like William Dafoe, he's been, nothing short of amazing, in this movie, like we were talking about earlier. But fast forwarding back to the alien guy. So basically, I just thought his character was weakened by, sort of the fact that he was, talking, and it just didn't seem like he was as powerful before, because he was more so the main villain in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Correct me if I'm remembering correctly. He was a lot more powerful, and it just felt like, oh, he can talk now. And there's all these other more powerful villains, even like Electro, Green Goblin, and Doc. It just felt like he was just like not up here. He was just down in like I don't know. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah. Before I get to the lizard, Sandman, good. He's not a main villain, but he is one of the villains of Spider-Man, and it just moves on. And as you said, Kat, like I do like how he did kind of like try to reconnect, saying like, "Oh, Peter, what's up? What's wrong?" And then he tries to help him, and then you know go switch real quick after saying I don't trust people. Um, I do like Sandman. Was he kind of needed in the movie? No, but was it great to see him? Yes, and I feel like they probably dumbed down his character just a bit because like we all know in the animated series and any other series that we've watched or even the comics that like Sandman's powerful. Like he can create any weapon with the sand or do a freaking sandstorm or like anything. Like he's powerful, but you know they they gave the villains their roles and that's it. And I'm not gonna go any further with that. With the lizard, and it's unfortunate to say this. Like, of course, we didn't get a lot out of the Amazing Spider-Man, both movies. It's unfortunate because like the Amazing Spider-Man animated series or like even in the comics, it's it's great. Like they're great, and it's just like unfortunately those two movies didn't do enough to bring forth into this new Spider-Man. And as a person that loves the lizard and cosplayed him and everything, I just don't like how the lizard looks. Was and I still didn't. I wish they changed him. I wish they gave him a new look, like how they revamped, Sonic and whatever else. Like I wish they just changed him just a little bit. He as he does look like a dinosaur in sort of a way. It's just like more human like, and I don't know, maybe down the line will if there's ever any more Spider-Man movies or whatever, like maybe down the line we'll see somebody like um that looks like a lizard but actually looks like a lizard. Um but I was really disappointed and yeah, as David, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. David said that like the lizard is a strong character and he probably like could have done more with him, but his tire is just there. It's
This
just
tier's just like it used to be up here, now it's down there. It's just
yeah,
like
his tier is just low, and I kind of get it because he's not there. He's just like a character, and then moves on with the show. So that's my thoughts on that on the lizard.
See that's the thing because because you have people like Doc Ock and because you had Goblin, they were more of the feature, and that's why the Lizard took a back seat to them because people were just probably more excited to see them because it's been so long since they've seen them. Granted, it's been some time since you've seen the Lizard as well, but people tend to remember like the nostalgia aspect. They tend to remember those kind of villains, and they stick out in their mind. So when you saw the trailers and you saw that they were there, you were like, you know what, this is what I'm here for. Like I'm here for this. So just like Sandman, Lizard played the background, and like I was okay with it. Like it didn't steer me. Like I wasn't upset, nor I wasn't bothered. I was okay with how it was because I wasn't expecting him to play a bigger role than what he did. So for me, like I was okay with it. It was cool. That he was at least there.
So we're gonna get into the thing that actually kind of pissed me off because while I got it and I understood, I guess from a helping standpoint, I understood it, but the whole situation with him curing them and Aunt May and Sis really got me upset because I'm like, listen here, I get it. You like to help people, you're a social worker, you help, but look what everything that happened because of you wanting to. I kind of felt like she guilt tripped him a bit, like. He was just like, let me get them back. Everything can be back to normal. We can kind of fix it. And because they were there longer, it kind of even went to more shit before it got better. And so, like, I did have an issue with her. I really was sitting there in the theater like, listen here, May, like, you got Tom here stressed. You got him stressed out right now because you sit here like, oh my God, be helpful. And then she did the Uncle Ben line about with great power comes great responsibility. And I was like, all right, like, you know, Uncle Ben says that. And I get that they had to throw it in there since we don't have an Uncle Ben for Tom's version of Spider-Man. Like, they never really say too much of what happened to Uncle Ben. Just like we know he's not there. They didn't really get to like a deep, which I was kind of glad because I'm like, I don't need to see the background origin story of what happened to Uncle Ben. We all know he died. We know this. I feel like I'm glad they kind of didn't have to do that again. Like they didn't have to rerun that part of it with him. And I was glad about that. So I was glad, I guess, we got the line since, you know, Toby, that was a one thing he always put Lake in his head when he saw his uncle die. Like that was the one thing he said, big beavers, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. But she really got me mad because I'm like, sis, if you didn't just let him send them back, we could have been done as far as bad as everything got. And then it was just like, I kind of felt like she guilt tripped him, but I didn't really like that. I get it. Like I said, I understand, I guess, from a helping standpoint, you want to help people and do things for people to be better. But it was just like, this became such a bad thing. And then look what happened to her because of this. And so how do you guys feel about that? Because I was mad at her for like the whole movie. Like even after when she was sad, I was like, you know what? But this is what you get, Aunt May, because don't do shenanigans. Like if you didn't do this, you wouldn't be here. This wouldn't be where you at right now if you just would have been a little smarter about this. So I was kind of mad about her. You know, when she was, you know, what her situation ended, I was just, I don't feel bad. I didn't feel bad at her for her at all. I was not sad about it. I was like, this is what you get for being ridiculous. This is
what the?
This is such a ridiculous thing to do. And now now look, now you got Tom with more stress because of this one situation. So for me, I was okay with what happened to her just because I was just annoyed with her with that whole, I understood it. I did, but I'm just like, when does it ever go right to have a whole bunch of villains in somebody's like nice apartment? What does that even sound like? That would be a smart decision.
So
like New York status, like three of us are New Yorkers. You know, like if you're gonna have a house party, would you have a house party in like your friend's basement, or would you have the house party in somebody's penthouse? You're gonna probably do it in the basement because things might get a little crazy. Things might not work out the way you want it to work out when you decide to have this house party. I felt like that was such a dumb move on her part. But what was y'all thoughts about it? Because I was annoyed with her for that whole section. I was just mad.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Because she was concerned, you now are like, okay, she can die now. I don't care. The what?
I'm just saying, like, because it was honestly, this would never happen if it wasn't for her choice. And so I feel like I'm always a firm believer, and you got to kind of make a choice that try to think about choices you make. She'll still be here. Like literally, you can't, like, I get wanting to be concerned, but again, we're New Yorkers and I can be the nicest person and still look at people real funny. Like, can I trust you're going to be a good person? That's just call a spade a spade. I'm a nice person too, but I'm going to always kind of be like, I don't know if I can trust this person. She trusted all villains to just going to be, that was my issue with that. It's like, you trusted a bunch of villains to all just be kind people when they were all villains. It wasn't like they were like one good person and a bunch of villains. No, they were all villains, which means you kind of have to keep your guard up a bit. Like you can help them, but she was just so like, no, but let's just help them and look what happened. So that was my issue. I just didn't like that she guilt tripped him into doing it, and because he's kind for the most part, and then look what it costed. It costed him a lot. It costed by the end. It costed him like everything. So that one decision. So that was my issue. Is like by the time she got there, I was just like, you know what, May? I don't care. I didn't feel bad. Like I when Tom disintegrated in fucking Infinity War, I was crying. Crying. I was I was like, no, Peter, even though I knew he was coming back because it was movies. He had movies he had to do. And I knew that. Logically, I knew it. I was sad. I was crying. I was mad at everybody. I was like, God damn it, freaking Peter Quill, this is your fault, bro. I was angry.
Peter Quill.
I still blame Star-Lord for this. I'm still mad about that, even though everything is fine now. Star-Lord, fuck him. That's literally how I still feel because of that. So because she did that one move, I'm just like, you know what? I can't feel sad that you're gone now. I just don't feel bad about it.
Let's just say this, and Disney people, anybody from Disney, if y'all watching, please don't hate me for this, but you know, it's Disney's fault for bringing all that kindness and sweetheart and like
what?
We can't have the nitty gritty of a dark Spider-Man but they try to make it as dark as possible by killing Aunt May. But we all know as New Yorkers, we ain't trusting nobody. We gonna keep it real. We gonna be like, who are you? All right, this and that. And like you said, we bring everybody down to the bad house. We ain't gonna bring them up to the nice crib where all this technology is here. Like,
Exactly.
and especially like with Electro, he's like, "Ooh, I feel power here." Like, nah, man, you ain't feeling nothing. You coming downstairs, that's where you staying. And then how you gonna disrespect the lizard and just keep him in the truck? Like, what you gonna do downstairs in the truck? Like nothing. He's gonna see what's going on downstairs, not tell nobody. And this is why he said, "Oh, this is where the fun begins," because he already knew. Ooh, Jameson is right downstairs. Now here it comes. The madness is about to start, and he already knew.
But he said he wanted to stay in. He said that he wanted to stay in the truck.
He did.
Because when everybody walked in, May was like, "Where's the lizard?" And he was like, "Oh no." She said she wanted to stay in the truck. So that was his choice to actually not go up there.
He busted out that and started climbing out the roof. You couldn't do that. You couldn't just come out nicely out the truck and then I'll say I'll meet y'all in the 14th floor, like whatever. Like, nah, he just was like, nah, now it's time for me to wild out, even though I don't know what's going on. I was like, oh, this is how we gonna show the lizard. Like, he's not a fucking my bad. He's not a scientist that's smart enough to be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't even do this here. We gotta let's go to the school labs or something. Like, nah. They just said, okay, come to the apartment. They disrespected my boy's Happy's house. Like,
that was another thing. It was like, fuck Happy, right?
Yeah.
This was his apartment. This was Happy's apartment. Y'all was just like, fuck him.
Hold on.
And did everything. I'm like, so we just gonna.
Let's rewind that though. They play Happy by saying, "Oh, Aunt May just wanted a fling. She didn't want no love." They play my boy Happy like, "Oh, when we gonna see each other again?" Like, come on. We knew that Aunt May like Happy.
Was livid. she was livid. She was like, relationship.
She was like, "Nah, I ain't for you, Happy. You too needy." That's what she basically told freaking Peter Parker. He was just her nephew. She was like, boundaries, needy. He's too needy. I get it. A lot of girls don't like that.
He caught feelings. Yeah, he caught feelings, and she just wasn't feeling that. Like that again. That's the times we're in. Like,
I wanted
two
fun.
people talking, they have their fun. Yeah, exactly. And that's like the society we live in today. Like, if you're talking to somebody, one person definitely thinks you guys are way further than you actually are. So, again, realism. I was just like, oh, look at Happy. He thought this was something, and she was just like, oh, no, I was just trying to have a good time.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you did. You felt bad for Happy.
I felt
when it came to that whole...
And I felt bad for Aunt May. Like,
now I agree with Katrina about what she said earlier.
Oh, because Happy was like, I'm just saying they didn't.
Yeah, because she did Happy dirty. You see that?
Like, Happy already had to lose Tony. Happy, that was his boss. He had a whole bunch. He's like, okay, I get May. And then May was like, nah, we're going to end this right now. So he already kind of sad. And then it's like, you know what? Let's go use his apartment as well. And then y'all was just like, fuck his apartment. I'm like, well, goddamn, Happy can't get nothing happy. Like, how is Happy still happy? How is he still, honestly, how is he still happy? His name need to change to something else. Not Happy. Okay?
Honestly, his crib was nice, though. I'm not going to lie. His crib was nice. Had that freaking mad things on his wall. Freaking, what's that basketball playing?
Patrick Ewing?
Yes, thank you. Patrick Ewing. Jersey right
New York,
there.
baby.
One of the best Knicks, right?
Absolutely.
One of the best Knicks.
Absolutely.
I felt like they didn't care about his apartment, and it was like, of all the places, there was no other places you guys could have figured out how to do this. It had to be in this apartment. Y'all couldn't bring the technology to like the little downstairs area they would hold up.
They had to bring it to Long Island City. And first of all, all them cops and helicopters would have been in that building. In Long Island City, that part right there, you already know you don't mess with that part because
that's another thing. I'm like, that's where I originally was like when I moved to Queens. That's the area I was in, the Long Island City area, which is right next to the city. So it's real funny with police and stuff. So I'm like, guys, come on, guys. Like, we gotta, like, again, realistically, New Yorkers, they would have been there so quick. So quick they would have been there. Like, oh, this is too close to the city bounds. They would have been there really quickly.
Everybody went to Sunnyside real quick because they knew where he was at, but they couldn't go all the way to Long Island City.
Exactly. And you gotta pass Long Island City to get into Sunnyside. I did not understand. I was like, real Queens people know they would have been there way quicker than they actually got there. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, she didn't deserve. I just felt like.
See, I think I was gonna say I think you guys are thinking like way too literal, right? So you're saying like don't come upstairs, don't come into the penthouse, this and that. But again, rewind right to the early part of the movie where Murdoch tells him, "You need a lawyer. You need a good lawyer because you're holding Tony Stark's stuff." And now they want to seize that. So that's why you can't move that out of his crib. He's hiding that. So I understand what you're saying logically, but in the movie, it made sense. That is the only place you could go because you can't bring Stark technology anywhere else into the real world because now Happy's about to get arrested. Like, he would be on trial. So, it had to happen there. And I get it. It sucks that they ruined his crib, right? So that whole thing goes down. Peter says, all right, I'm going to fix all of y'all because we've now come to the realization that if you go back, you're going to die. So again, where, both Lewis, Kat, you guys were saying like, you don't trust villains. You have to have a sense of trust in them only because they know if they don't attempt to do this, they're going to die. So now they want to kind of save themselves. So you will trust that they're going to do the right thing and sit there quietly while we figure out how to handle every single one of y'all until Osborn. Of course, it's always Osborn, but that's what I like. That dark side comes out. He flips, and because they fixed Doc Ock, and Doc Ock was very thankful. He was like, all right, what can I do? Then they started working, Osborn's working, and he just said that line. He's like, you're not going to have that dark half no more. And then at the, the snap of a finger, boom, the script flipped, and I love it. Let me tell you, Tom Holland and his Peter Tingle, I loved it. Like, the way it went off in the movie, for every single instance, I was just like, you know what, this is cool. And he just knew. He was like, fuck, like it's Osborn. Then you have the whole fight scene and everything happens. And this was the very, like I said, I cried 3 times. This was the first time that I cried because now he's holding Aunt May. And he's just such a good actor. Damn you, Tom Holland, you're just so good. You see the emotion in his face, and he's telling her like, we're good, we're good. Yeah. And then she faints. She's like, oh, like I can't. I gotta catch my breath. And he realizes like, this is it. And for those of us, who have seen the other movies, once she said that Uncle Ben line, you're like, oh my God, we're really gonna lose Aunt May here. Like I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And then it just happens, and I'm just like, I'm not bawling, but it came down. I was just like, damn, like, fuck. All right, this sucks. This sucks. So, Kat's over here talking about that's what you get. You fucking up this guy's heart. You messing up his crib. So you deserve that. Nobody deserves that. That shit's terrible. What do you mean? That shit was sad.
Listen, I felt bad for Peter. I did. Like his whole, like when he realized she was bleeding, because I guess adrenaline was the reason why she was standing up in the first place. Yeah. Like that whole when he was like, just take a minute to breathe, and that bothered me. I was sad for him, but for her, absolutely not. I was like, you know what, sis, this is what happens when you do shenanigans. This is what happens. But him, I was heartbroken for. I really was, because I was like, Peter made me think of how when he was talking to Tony when Tony was dying, and the like, come on, miss, like just that childlike innocence in a way, because again, he is still 17. So like that childlike innocence, like, wait, I'm losing somebody else, and so that did bother me. I was sad about that, but her, I was just like, well, maybe next time, be a little smarter, because, like, come on.
I was
so
hello, but I did feel bad for him. I did get sad about him. He does invoke emotions in me where he does it so well that you're kind of like, damn, like I'm hurt for you, Peter. Like I'm hurting too. Like we hurt together. I just didn't feel bad that she went, but I did feel bad for what he felt, his emotions, and especially when they kind of show him like in the rain, because everybody needs a sad rain scene, and somebody dies. You need that nice rain scene to let it hit home for the audience that somebody died. Yeah. So let's get some rain. Arnold Solomon has to rain. So the rain scene where you kind of just see him like cry, like it's bothering him, and that did bother me. I was sad for him, but I feel like because he already lost so much as well. It's like he lost a lot over you lose your anomaly, like you're not. Everybody knows who you are now, and you lost the chance to go to school, and you lost the one person who was like your mentor. You lost him, and now that the Avengers came back and everybody came back, it wasn't the same though. After that, like once Endgame happened, it's like everybody's like, what do we do now? And so he lost a lot. So that that did bother me. As far as like, again, you're the youngest one here. You're the baby of the group. Like you're kind of dealing with this process kind of by yourself now. because now the one parent figure that you had is gone as well. So that I feel bad about. I just didn't feel bad for her because she just made a really dumb decision. I'm just like, you're supposed to be smart about this. Just be smart. Or I would have done to do like a couple at a time, like maybe 2 at a time or something. But she put everybody. I'm like, this. As soon as they saw I was like, oh, this is gonna end up really bad. It's gonna be so bad because they all came in, and I'm just like, oh no, oh god, this is gonna be so bad, and it was bad. So, now we get to my favorite part, which is when we get to see the other Spider-Mans. Starting with Mr. Andrew Garfield.
Hold on, let David say something. Hold on.
Wait, so I just want to say before you move on. So I know you're saying like, oh, because it's Disney, they want to make all the characters nice. No, that's not what it is. This is leading, like we said, the multiverse is a thing now. They are fixing them so they can keep them around, so they never die, so they keep them around for future movies. Because I don't know. So apparently, Avengers. So apparently, there's gonna be another Avengers. It's gonna be called Secret Wars. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. So apparently, it's going. If for those in the audience that haven't heard about this, it's going to be characters or like past version characters fighting current version characters. So let's say like Spider-Man, for example, like they're gonna be fighting. The past Spider-Mans are gonna be fighting each other. So I'm really excited for that. I don't know, we don't know a lot of details yet, and I'm not really sure when that movie is coming out. It's probably not going to be for a couple of years, but because everything else still needs to develop. There still needs to be the next Hulk that comes out because we've already had we've had like 2 previous Hulks, right?
Yeah, 3.
Right. 3. I'm sorry, because I only saw one movie that was in 2008. But yeah, so yeah, you were saying, Katrina. I just wanted to chime that in, that they are gonna bring back those characters in the future movies because they never died.
I mean, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with them being cured. I do think Doc Ock, he was probably
really okay.
No, I was okay with Doc Ock because he was grateful. Like, he legit was like, "Thank you, like you helped me," and I appreciated that. After that, he pretty much was a good guy. After that, he really wasn't a villain anymore. Like, even to the end, he helped. And so I respected that. Like, he literally was like, I feel like he was only a villain because of circumstances. Like, the thing fused to his back. And it's like, I kind of feel like I'll be a little angry too if I did some weird experiment and it didn't go well. And next minute I have these really weird mobile arms on me. I'm probably going to be a little bit upset angry about people too. So I feel like he was more villain off of circumstance. Like, he literally was trying to do something he thought was going to be a good thing, and it didn't really turn out that way. Because, scientists always kind of fuck something up. So I feel like in his regard, when Peter got to him first and he was able to kind of, like, be grateful for it, I felt like he truly was the genuine one. But he was the one talking the most shit in the beginning. Like, even when they asked him his name, and then they was like, "What's your name again?" They just kind of started laughing, like, "Wait, that's your name for real?" Like, even then, he was, like, more, like, annoyed and irritated with everybody. So I feel like he was probably like, I appreciated the fact that once that happened, he was a lot different. And like, he would probably went back to his version of, Spider-Man, and he would have been a better person. I truly believe that because he seemed grateful. That the other ones kind of seemed like they were kind of plotting. Like Jamie Foxx was plotting. He was plotting. As soon as he's like, I feel this energy, he was plotting from that very moment that he knew there was something happening, that he was going to do something. And so I never, off that alone, I wouldn't have trusted that. But I don't know if I would have wanted him in the apartment after that. I felt like even when he was saying like the world, when they had him in Doctor Strange's basement area, he was kind of saying like, this world feels a lot different and I like it. Like, he was already kind of letting I don't think he was going to be a better person. And so for that, I would have kept that in my mind. Like, I don't know if I want to have you outside this cage until I really need to help you at this moment because of that. And again, that might be me being overly pessimistic because I do tend to think the worst people a lot. But yeah, okay. So we get to see Andrew Garfield make his appearance. Like, I thought was really cool because the whole Ned thing and his grandmother was like hilarious to me. Like, the whole thing with him coming out and then the grandma having him clean the webs up, and I thought it was funny because I was like, this is typical like grandma stuff. Like, grandma never knows what's happening, but she's like, what you gonna do is clean this for me while you do all this. Clean up the mess you made, like clean up the mess you made, and then maybe you go handle it. So, I actually really enjoyed that grandma scene with her and Andrew Garfield. I really did like it. So how do you guys feel when we got Andrew? Because he's my least favorite Spider-Man, so I didn't care I was just like, I mean, I guess everybody cheered. I was just like, I mean, I guess whatever, because he's my least favorite. He's like number 3 of the group for me. So how did y'all feel about Andrew Garfield making his long-awaited appearance, considering he'd been lying all this time about he wasn't in the movie and all?
I don't know. So somebody else go first this time because I gotta refresh myself on the other Amazing Spider-Mans.
So I'm gonna just put everything in a hole and then everybody else can talk. The grandma house scene was good, but we all knew like at that point, when he was like trying to that spark with the opening the portal and everything, I was like, all right, this is it. They have to come. If not, then they're not in this movie, and like that kind of like proved the point for me where like, all right, they're not gonna be in this movie. There has to be a part 2. But once they showed up, I was like, yes, Andrew Garfield. I was hyped for him, but I was just like, because I'm a Toby fan. I was waiting for Toby. But I loved when she was like, "Oh, prove your Spider-Man," and he was like, "Why? Why I gotta do that?" Like, and I get it. I'll be the same way. I'm like, "Why I gotta do the crap right now? You see me with the suit. That's all you need to know." And then he's hanging off the wall, and he's like, "Does this prove it?" They were like, "No." Like, and I'm like, "What do you mean no?" I was so mad. I was like mad at him. Then she throwing bread. He's like, "My spidey senses is not going off with the bread. Like, I see you." Like that was pretty funny. And then like Toby came, and Toby just steps in, and as Andrew Garfield said, he's like, "Are you gonna change into something else, or are you gonna look like a youth pastor?" That had me dying because we all
Same.
know
He did.
we all knew his outfit was not it, but that is the older Spider-Man. That's how the older Spider-Man, and in his universe, that's how he's dressing. Like he's just older Spider-Man. And but I love the scene when they both looked at each other and they shot their webs, and of course who wins? Toby, because Toby's A1. He knows everything. Like and he's just the better Spider-Man. And don't get mad, people, but we all knew that was coming. And I love the scene where they were like oh snap, wait, like I feel you send spider senses, and then grandma's like over here just worrying about her crib, making sure it's all clean. Like, can you please clean up and like can you help me get that spider web, because I can't even reach it up there. And so
That was the funniest scene to me. Just like
Yeah.
the hand movement.
yeah, he was just like, all right, let me twirl this out of here. And then grandma all stressed out over here, like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna go to bed now because this is way too much. She about to have a heart attack when she was like, like what you thought was gonna happen in that portal? You want to call your grandson like, oh, he all magical and stuff? Like, get out of here. He all magical because of Doctor Strange's ring. But that whole scene when all 3 of them came together, and then even after where they were like, oh, we need to find him, to just give him a talk, and of course Andrew Garfield Spider-Man got to be all emo with Gwen, and oh, how I never got over it. Like, bruh, it's been years. I understand you lost your girl. Cool. I don't want to disrespect that. But like, damn, get over it, my guy. Like, and then like he gotta be like, oh,
God damn, you were ruthless.
And then he want to be all up in Toby's. He want to be all up in Toby's.
Like, bro, go to therapy. Go to therapy. Stop complaining. It's all how many years passed. Get over it.
And then he
Like,
up in
you
Toby's
sad,
business.
but come on, bro. I was mad too. I did say that. I definitely said the same thing. Like, bro, that's what therapy's for.
And he all up in Toby's business too. Like, oh, us guys don't got time. Like Toby, like, yeah, okay, I got my girl at home. We figured things out after many years later, and we Gucci now. Like, we good. Like, we all set, man. And Andrew's like, oh, okay, like, I guess I'm the loner here. Like, yeah, you are, because you never moved on. Like, Gwen is Gwen. Gwen is Stacy. Unfortunately, you cracked her back, and that's what happened. And that whole scene with all 3 of them was totally dope. And yeah.
I mean, so we're talking about the climax of the movie. Like, this is where it all just started coming together, and you're like, all right, we're here now. Like, everybody was guessing and everybody was hoping, and everybody pretty much got their wish. So that portal opens, and here comes Andrew. And like I said, I don't know exactly when you guys saw it, but in my theater, I mean, there were standing ovations. Like people got up out of their chair and they were just clapping, and it was a mark out moment. You know, like I got the not necessarily the tingle, but I definitely like I had the feels. I was like, this is it. I was like, yo, this is dope. You know, he comes out, the whole throwing of the bread. You know, like it was funny. You know, and then he's like, I'm not your Peter. You know, I'm here looking for your Peter. And he's like, oh, I guess I got to find another Peter Parker. And he's like, well, how many can there be out there? So, you know, he does it again, and enter Toby, and forget it. Like everybody lost their mind in the theater. And it's like, all right, we're here. This is what we've been waiting for, you know? And he starts talking, and you're just like, all right, like now this movie, like, you know, the next hour is about to be amazing, you know? So to see them together and them playing off of each other, you know, how they're comparing, you know, like their stories and what they've been through, you know, like, no, we don't know where our Peter is. We're looking for him. And Toby's just like, well, is there a place that like means, you know, something to him? Like for me, it was the Chrysler Building. And Andrew's like, yeah, no, for me, it was the Empire State, you know, better view. Like, you know, trying to like one up Toby, like in a way. And he's like, you know, that actually is a pretty good view. But it was awesome. You know, like I said, it was definitely the climax and like the highlight of the movie. Because, like I said, we're here now, and all right, how do we, you know, let's move on and let's get this going. Let's get the ball rolling here.
The scenes they were perfect, honestly. Like before Kat can chime in, I'm sorry. I think these scenes were absolutely perfect. Like my theater, you know, there wasn't a standing ovation, but the reaction was loud. And it got even louder after Toby came out. So I feel like, you know, Doctor Strange, a lot of people overlook the actual movie, because I was a big fan of Doctor Strange when I saw the movie back in what was it, like 2016, 2017? I think it was 2016. Yeah, because Spiderman came out the year after. But I love this cross universe, you know, movie, and I don't know. I just feel like Doctor Strange plays so much bigger of a role in all of these movies, especially in Endgame, than people think he does. He is such an important character that, you know, if Doctor Strange wasn't a thing, I feel like, you know, the MCU would be completely different. So I feel like I have sort of an appreciation for Doctor Strange, and I'm really excited for the movie that's coming out next year. Was it next year or is it beginning of 2023? I forget.
Next year.
Next year, but yeah.
No, next year.
Okay.
It was supposed to be March, but I believe it got moved to June now,
Yeah.
if my memory serves me.
Because COVID, so.
I mean, yeah, like I was with my role with Doctor Strange, I was okay with it because I was kind of worried when I first saw the trailer that he would have been too involved in this movie. And my thing is because we did have a lot of Robert Downey Jr. in very first Spider-Man movie, you kind of want, you know, and then the second one was kind of him dealing with the fact that Endgame is over, and then, you know, Robert Downey Jr. is gone, like Tony's gone, and you're kind of dealing with that and still dealing with like wanting to be a teenager and stuff. So I was kind of glad like we got Doctor Strange, and then he was gone for a good point of time, and then it came back when it was necessary for him to come back. And so I was okay with it. I do believe that, yes, he has a lot more tie-in than people give him credit for. But I also think that it was a perfect for him in regards to how much he was in the movie. I didn't want him to be too much in it. But yeah, for me, like I said, I didn't really care that Andrew came back. So when everybody else was cheering, I was just like, I mean, I guess when Toby came back, then I was cheering. I was like, my God, Toby, like he's the one I grew up watching. Even, you know, the emo Toby when he was dancing in number 3, you know, with the little eyeliner and emo haircut and all. Even that one, you know, still my guy Toby. We still got my guy Toby. So it was.
We don't talk about this on that channel. We don't talk about that.
Listen, I do plan to rank the Spider-Man movies eventually. So that is one of the goals for 2022. So yeah, for me, it was good to see them. I did think they had really good conversation. I like that the little lines they had within each other, it worked. And when then like Andrew was like he was lame, and I was like, to me, I was like, you damn right you're lame because you're the least one of my of the group. You're number 3, bro. So you are lame. And then when Toby was like, you know, you're amazing. And I'm like, okay, let's make the amazing Spider-Man reference. Like, so he was amazing. Like, say it with me, you're amazing. And I'm like, so are you going to play off the fact that he called you like a youth counselor and make him do some self-affirmations about feel good about yourself? Because he was like, you're amazing. Say it with me, you're amazing. And I'm like, okay, let's play off the fact that he called you a youth counselor, but also that Andrew was the Amazing Spider-Man. So I did really enjoy. Again, it was nice to see all of them. And then Toby's reference to the back problems, I was like, bro, listen, same, bro. Like, you got back problems, same here. Like, we get a little older now. I'm like, goddamn, the back kind of cracking and stuff. And so when he made that, I was like, oh, he knows. Toby knows. Toby understands that our age group, the back problems, the back problems. I thought that was a cool little thing to put in there. So now I guess we get to where everything kind of comes to a head with all three Spider-Mans. We got all the villains, and we're by the Statue of Liberty because why, everything always goes down in New York City. Everything has to go down by something really important. So it was Statue of Liberty. So how did you guys feel about that? Like, we're really at where everything is kind of crazy right now and everything is happening. How do you guys feel about the situations with the villains and like them trying to work together and stuff like that?
I feel like the Statue of Liberty scene, I feel like it was executed perfectly. With the three Spider-Mans trying to coordinate and all of them, flying around shooting webs, and them landing like side by side, like on the Statue of Liberty, like George said, it got a really big pop from the crowd because it's just such a cool scene to see. Like three, in my opinion, three amazing actors. A lot of people don't like Andrew Garfield, and that's fine, but it's still three amazing actors, and just to see that kind of stuff is really cool. And and to think this is just the beginning. We're gonna see more of these kinds of things in other Marvel movies as well. So
I agree with you also on the Statue of Liberty. Very iconic, very that's New York. You can't miss it. And that's probably everybody's first place they want to go to when they come to New York, besides the One World Trade Center and the Chrysler Building and Empire State. That's everybody's going to go to. They want to see the Statue of Liberty, even if they don't do the whole tour and they go just see it from a distance. That's the iconic spot. That whole
unless you live here, because if you live here, you don't want to see any of that stuff. That's only for the tourists. You live here, you never want to go to any of these places.
Yeah, that's a total fact. I agree with you on that. The whole altogether fighting scene and Jay Jonah oh, you got the Statue of Liberty. That's something that's great. You're gonna destroy more stuff. I was like, shut the hell up already. But that whole scene was great. I felt like the whole lead was, I think they really tried to push Jamie Foxx into trying to be the lead, and it was not it for him. It was just he already knew. I think at that point, even if they were writing the script, he just already knew he's just another character in it. But he was like, I'm coming after you, and I love that Andrew was like, hey, remember me? And he was like, no, you destroyed me and you failed me and you never needed me and blah blah blah. I was like, oh god, here we go again. And I like how the lizard just came out of the water out of nowhere and started attacking. Sandman came out of nowhere and then did his thing with Toby, and then the Green Goblin came out of nowhere. Honestly, I'm just gonna say this. When I saw that scene with the Green Goblin at first, I didn't think it was the Green Goblin. I thought it was gonna be the Hobgoblin. I thought it was gonna be Harry coming out, and I was like, yo, I was getting hyped. I was overhyping myself until I saw it, and then I was like, oh. But and unfortunately, after the end of the movie, I was like, unfortunately, that probably could have been James Franco coming out as the Hobgoblin. But since he's in this court thing, we're not gonna talk about that. That's why they just made it the Green Goblin. But that whole fight scene that was great when Tom was trying to get them all to coordinate together and was like, you're gonna be Spider-Man 2 and I'm gonna be Spider-Man 1, you're gonna be Spider-Man 3, and they figured out themselves all right, we're gonna do it like this. That whole scene when they jumped off and was like, woo, and then they freaking flung themselves around, and then that part with the moon with all three of them, I was like, oh, I want a poster like that. So whoever out there drawing out there watching this show, somebody better draw that and hit me up because I want a poster like that.
Same. Same. I would love that on my wall too.
And then them landing and fighting was awesome. And then when it was just Tom and Green Goblin duking it out, I was like, yes, he's finally throwing hands. where like he's not going soft, like he's gonna go in because he remembers he killed Aunt May. And to bring back the killing with Aunt May, I thought he was how he was gonna kill Aunt May was like the same way he got killed in Toby Maguire's movie where the blaze just went through him. I thought that's how they were gonna do with Aunt May, but they did it real quick, like never nothing happened. But yeah, it was just great to see just Toby come out of nowhere, stop him, and was just like, no, you can't do this. You know, this is not what you was here for. You was here to save him. And you know, they had that eye connection. Was like, you know why we here? Don't do it. We already spoke about this and why you can't be. You know, you can't go after revenge. We're heroes. We're here to do one thing. This is what our thing right now. And then that's when Andrew Garfield threw the serum, and then boom. Do I think he's still healed? No, he's not fully healed. Like I don't think he's healed. But but that's a whole nother story. And then when Green Goblin came out of nowhere and stabbed Toby, I was like, yo, no, he's not dying right here. Like that like would have been a good send off in a kind of a way. Yes, because we all wanted to see Tobey Maguire again as Spider-Man. Would that have been a good send off? But I was like, nah, they're not killing him because that's gonna kill me and I'm gonna be mad at this whole movie. And I think
same.
Marvel knew.
Y'all better stop playing. Don't play with me, Marvel.
Yeah.
Don't play with me. Y'all better leave Toby alone.
Don't kill him. But that whole fighting scene was epic. Like this is what I wanted out of the whole movie. And I guess everybody was right when they were watching the trailer and then you saw the lizard's head like tilt just a little bit and everybody's like, oh, that's the Spider-Man. That's Spider-Man right there. He's just invisible or you can't see him. And I was like, no, stop it. Like stop with all the edits and the, you know, re-looking at it. But I guess the conspiracy thing is over there. Who talking now?
See, I think the one thing that you guys yeah, I was gonna say like I don't want to say that you guys have failed to mention it, but like for me, so now they're all up there, you know, they're on the top of the Statue of Liberty, and it's the banter for me. For me, it's the banter between the three of them. You know, they find out that Toby shoots the webs through his arms, and they're like, yeah, we can't do that. We're not making fun of you. We just want to know like how, like, do you get web block? Like it's just in you. Does it come from anywhere else? You know, like they're going at each other like brothers. You know, that stuff was great. And like, you know, the fight scenes start and then they start taking the L. You know, they start taking the L early and they got to regroup. And they're like, guys, what's going on out there? We don't know what's happening. And Tom Holland pulls rank and he's like, listen, you know, I don't want to, you know, boast or anything, but I was part of a team. I was part of the Avengers. And Toby's like, oh, well, that's great. What are the Avengers? And he's like, you don't have the Avengers in your world? And then Andrew was like, is that like a boy band? But even before that, when they were comparing like the people they fought before, and Toby's like, oh, I fought an alien once. And Tom's like, oh, me too, actually in outer space and on Earth. And Toby's like, you fought someone in space? And Andrew's like, wow, I just fought some Russian and like a rhino guy. Like I'm pretty corny. And like they definitely put that in there on purpose because he himself knows he's the worst Spider-Man. And I loved it. Like he lives up to his gimmick as the worst Spider-Man, you know, like, and he embraces it.
God
So I
damn, you
love
guys
that.
are ruthless.
Yo, listen,
Spider-Man
it
3
is
for
what
a
it is,
reason.
David.
He was Spider-Man
It
3
literally is what it
for a
is.
reason.
Exactly. You know, and then like everybody said, you know, Lewis, just like you said, you know, you wanted the poster. As soon as they regroup, then they're like, all right, we're going to do this. And then they swing up and they land on the crown and they're all there for that, like that 3 second, or, you know, if you want to go back to Edge and Christian, that 5 second pose. I was like, that's a tattoo. Yo, put that on my back. Put that on my back. And yes, David, just like your theater, my theater popped. Like it was insane. The ovation, because it was just such a dope, it was an iconic portrait. Boom, right there, all three of them together. You know, they go into action. They do what they got to do. They start healing people. They start doing this. You know, Strange comes back. And it's funny, every time I know Katrina, David, you know, you guys, you know, talk to Steve, you know of Steve. Steve is such a mark for Strange. And if you look at Steve,
He looks just like
Steve's
him.
Strange. Steve is Doctor Strange. Like, he's got the hair. He looks just like him. He's just missing that little gray part in the front. I can't tell you for the years we go to Comic-Con, for the last 3 years, every time we go, Steve's like, hey, do you guys sell like a cape like Doctor Strange? Like, it's his dream to be Doctor Strange one of these days. And every time I see Strange, I'm like, that's Steve. Like, that's Steve. I totally see it. So like when Strange comes back and he starts, playing with the box, and then here comes Goblin and he throws like the little grenade into the box. It was, it was cool. Got to see everybody, do their thing. Like Lewis said, you're seeing Tom Holland is throwing haymakers at the foe. He's like, nah, fam, like, yo, you're done. Like, you are going to pay for what you did to Aunt May. Another part that, hit me, like I said, I wasn't bawling, but, like the tear came down. MJ's falling, and Spider-Man 1 goes to reach for her, and then here comes Goblin's, little cruiser thing, takes him out. And then Andrew saves her. And the whole crowd started cheering, and you got the awe because you saw the emotion in his face, and he's like, he felt redemption because he couldn't save Gwen. And, like, your heart went out to him. Like, he knew he did the right thing, and it felt good, and maybe now, you guys are like, oh, go to therapy. Y'all are so fucked up to this poor guy. But, like, in that sense, I feel like maybe in the next movie, he'll be past that, because I felt right then and there, like, he redeemed himself by not saving Gwen. Like, at least he saved Holland's MJ. So that was cool. Or it was even funny when Ned gets saved and he looks up and he's like, thank you, Mr. Cape, sir. Because, like, the cape is just the one that wrapped him around him and, got him there safely. Like, that was pretty funny. It was awesome. Listen, like, everything that was going on. When Lewis said, with Toby getting stabbed, like, I saw it. Oh, God. As soon as I saw Tom Holland reach for the cruiser and I saw Toby stop him, I'm like, yo, did anybody not see the blades coming out of his arm? I'm like, yo, Toby's about to get it. Nobody else knows this is happening right now? And then it happens, and I'm like, the crowd, everyone in the theater is like, what the fuck are you gasping for? You didn't know that was going to happen? Come on, man. Like, I knew that was going to happen.
I didn't know. I forgot.
You didn't know.
I thought that Toby's my guy. Absolutely. So it was like, let's not play around, Marvel. Like, stop playing. So that's what it was for me. It was like, Green Goblin's Green Goblin. You expect him to try to be shady. You expect that from him. And so I expected it, but it still was like, why couldn't it have been Andrew that got stabbed? That was just me. But that was, that was just...
Poor Andrew gets no respect, man.
But yeah, I feel like we pretty much told like the basis. So even with it ending, and which that was probably got to me too, I guess, when we see like he makes the spell again to kind of make everything right and put everybody back where they belong. And then you see him kind of getting himself together to kind of get back to MJ. And then he decides not to. And I guess that's a hero thing to do. It's like, let me not fuck up your life, knowing I could probably put you back in danger, and you don't know me now. So it's like, you won't be involved in any of this. And so that bothered me because I'm like, y'all can't give my guy some something happy. He just loses everybody. And so that did bother me. Like, it was good to see that MJ and Ned were really, actually still really good friends. Like, they clearly were still hanging out and stuff. And it was nice to see that. But it did make me a little sad at the end, like, to see that he was just like, well, I got to take my GED, which kind of bothered me because I was like, wait a minute, he didn't get to graduate? Like, he didn't get to graduate school? Like, after all this smartness over the years, he got to do his GED now? Not to knock a GED. It's just like, he was smart. He was a smart kid. That was one of the things we all know. Peter was supposed to be very smart. So it was kind of sucked to see him kind of have to start over completely alone with nobody. And so, like, and I felt like it was a good way to say we should be getting another. I hope we're getting another movie with Tom, because it was perfect. Like, now we're kind of starting from scratch now.
We're getting
like, there's
more.
No Aunt May, there's no Avengers, there's no Iron Man. It's just me. And so I feel like that's a nice way to kind of start over, like kind of restart. Like, let's give, now we're off the trilogy. Let's get to the next set of people.
So, hold on.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, David. Go ahead.
All right. What do you mean another movie with Tom? Why wouldn't they make another movie with Tom? Did you not see what happened at the beginning of the movie?
Right, bro, want a family. He got Zendaya. He's like, listen, children. That's what he said. I don't know. So he wants, like, he said he really will be okay never acting again and just producing and being that. That's what he literally just said like 2 weeks ago. So I'm hoping we still get Spider-Man movies, but at the end of the day, I do understand. He did say he didn't want to be like 35 playing Spider-Man. And from a respect, I guess, as you don't want to be the actor that's typecasted as just the hero, and you can't do anything else. I understand that from that aspect. You don't want to be like poor Christopher Reeve, who can only play Superman, and we never really got to see him do anything else. And so I understand that reference, but I think he's perfect Peter and like perfect Spider-Man. So I would love to see him do more. And again, I feel like the end perfectly reset everything. It's like now you have nobody holding you down.
We got three more
Right.
three more movies and probably a few more features with him before it's probably finally done with him.
Listen, I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad at Tom because, like, let's be honest. If you put a girl like Zendaya in my life, I'm shooting the club up every day from here, like every day. Oh, you want kids? Oh, we're gonna have this family? Bet. Watch me work. Absolutely. Yeah, I'd give up everything for that girl. She's and I love them together. Like they're quirky enough for each other. Like they just work. So, my man, you want to take time off? You want to shoot the club up? I tip my hat to you. I'm jealous, actually. I'm actually jealous because I don't got that right now. So, like, good on you, Tom Holland. Good on you.
Right, and before anyone else says anything, I do gotta go get ready for work, so I'm gonna give my final thoughts here real quick, and then I'm gonna dip out. But first, Katrina, thanks for having me on here. I don't think I've been on this show like one other time for like wrestling related stuff, but yeah, overall this movie, 12 out of 10. I'm not even giving it a letter. I'm giving it a 12 out of 10. This movie really did it for me, and it's a perfect setup for the next Spider-Man because now you're at least the audience engaged. Like, what's gonna happen next? Who's gonna be the next villain? Are Peter and MJ gonna get back together? Is everything gonna go back to sort of the way it was before? And I don't know. We'll have to see. But guys, thank you so much for having me on. Please make sure to subscribe to Miss Katrina over at We Trust over here, and I will catch you guys later.
Thank you for popping on.
Later, Dave.
Enjoy your. I know you work before you close, right? So enjoy your shift and Merry Christmas. If I don't catch you tomorrow.
Yep. Merry Christmas. If I don't see you guys tomorrow, well, I'm not going to see you guys tomorrow. But Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, and have a great day, guys.
Bye.
Later, David.
But yeah, so now that we got I feel like it's reset. Everything kind of can start from scratch now. Maybe we'll get Felicia. Maybe we'll get another Gwen. Maybe there's a few things we can kind of do now. Maybe we'll get Mary Jane this time, and it will be not Michelle. We don't know where it could just start from scratch. I don't know where he's supposed to move to. I don't know if it's still New York or if it's supposed to be Boston, because I can't really tell. Like, it's like this is clearly a bad area by the apartment. It was really shitty. It's a shitty ass apartment. So like he has to live in a kind of bad neighborhood. But I'm not really sure if this is New York City or if did he go to Boston to kind of be around MJ still, and maybe hopefully they can fall back. I don't know. But it was. I mean, I felt bad because I felt like he lost absolutely everything at that point. It was nothing for him, but it was also a nice way. Like, okay, we can now truly reset the character and do more because everything is now done. You got Tony's gone. The Avengers saved the day. Everybody's kind of back, and then you got all the little spin-off shows. You got Hawkeye, his show, and everybody. So it's really nothing for him to do for them. So now, what can he do as his character, as himself? And so it's promising. I'm excited to see what we get with Tom. So how, again, if you was ranking all the Spider-Man movies, if you was going to rank as far as all the Marvel we got so far for the MCU, where would you rank this movie?
Louis, you want to go or do you want me to go?
No, you can go first. I'm thinking.
So I'm actually going to go back, though, before I start with the ranking, because in that final scene, right, and he's saying his goodbyes, that was my third time. That was my third time when I had to shed a tear, because she looks at him in his face and she tells him, like, I love you. And when he goes to say it back, she says, no, I want you to wait. Wait until you find me again. And I'm like, oh my God. That's like the sweetest thing ever. That's the saddest shit ever to ever tell somebody. Like, now you got to try to make me remember you again. Like, that's insane. So like you said, he lost everything. He goes back into, he goes back into the donut shop and he has his little speech prepared, and then he sees her, and then he sees Ned, and I'm not going to front, for like 10 seconds I sat there, I'm like, oh no, Ned's clapping them.
I thought the same thing. I was like,
no, his best friend got her.
I thought the same thing.
No.
I did.
I was like, oh, for the love of God, please. I got so nervous. I was like, oh, they're gonna be dating, and now he's just gonna be like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna be a bad guy now. Like, I'm just gonna dip out of here and fuck everything because like my life got ruined, right? So like it sucked. That he saw them and he can't even talk to them. He talks to them, but they don't know. Like it's a fresh start for him. And then you get into the post credit scenes, right? So you see the first scene, and I was a little annoyed at the first scene only in the sense that, okay, if you watched Carnage, right, versus Venom, that in that post credit scene, that's when the blip happened, and the blip brought them into this timeline, because once they saw Spider-Man on the screen, that was the end of not No Way Home. This is No Way Home.
Endgame.
Far From Home?
Yeah, the Far From Home. Yeah.
No, Far From Home, because that's when J. Jonah Jameson was about to announce that he was Spider-Man. So that comes up, and then you have that guy coming into the room, and he's like, what are you doing in my room? That's because obviously you're now in that present time. You're not in your timeline. So now Tom Hardy's doing the talking, with Venom in the background. Strange casts this spell, and now, boom, Hardy's gone. But Venom, the symbiote, is still there. So, like, is that the end of Tom Hardy? Who's going to be the next Venom? Like, who's the symbiote going to become? And, like, do we lose Tom Hardy as the actual Venom character? Then I start thinking to myself, okay, you can't not have these guys not remember who Spider-Man is. How are they going to remember? How are they going to get that point across, right? So if the verbiage stays true, in the spell they said no one on Earth is going to know who Spider-Man is. They didn't mention outer space. So who's in outer space? You got the Guardians. You got Thor. You got Captain Marvel, are all the people that are currently in space. And you got Nick Fury, because they made a point to say that Nick Fury's been off planet for over a year now, in the very beginning when they were being questioned, interrogated. So they technically would have to know who Spider-Man is, right? Like, they know it's Peter Parker. Or am I bugging to think that the spell doesn't?
I actually didn't even think like that much, but you're right. They did. They made it very clear to let us know that it was on Earth, and they did. Even though we kind of realized that at the end of Far From Home that Nick Fury wasn't there the whole time, it wasn't him, and so he was gone. And again, the Guardians was doing their thing, and Thor was doing their thing with he was taking over, as Peter Cole deserves, taking over his ship and all, and that's what he deserves. Okay, they were already, so technically yes, because they all did work with Peter as well, they should remember him. So yeah. I don't even think Nick Fury is even knowing what happened with Peter, because this all happened literally back to back. So they literally started this new movie, Spider-Man movie, right after his identity was released. So it's literally no time pass. So for all we know, we don't even know what Nick Fury knows about everything that happened since the end, of Endgame and everything. So it does lead who maybe somebody from before does know, and maybe they can kind of help show MJ. I really do like them together, and so why I wouldn't mind getting Felicia, because we haven't had that in any of the live action movies. I still do like him with it. I feel like their dynamic is too cool. They work so well with how he is, and then again, Ned being the third guy of the trouble, as you said, it just works so well. It's you want the three of them just together forever. And I did like the little play on the fact that Toby said that his best friend became a villain, and then people were speculating that what if Ned becomes a villain at some point? Is that what we're gonna get at some point? And I kind of like that Ned. They made sure Ned knew that, and then they kind of kept having Ned look at him funny, are we gonna get villain Ned? Are we gonna get bad Ned all of a sudden? And so it was nice little things that we could use in the future. So I did appreciate those things that could have been used.
Yeah.
And the other thing to remember, whether they meant to say it or whether it's an Easter egg for the future, when they're back on the Statue of Liberty and they've defeated everybody. Jamie Foxx tells Andrew, there's got to be a black Spider-Man in the world, right?
Oh, I got so happy about that.
Yes! That's Miles Morales. You know what I mean? That's Miles. I mean, like they say Miles is half black and half Puerto Rican, so I'm like, yo, bring this guy out. But that's the thing, like you can't have Morales show up in this movie because he's not a real movie. You know what I mean? Like he's cartoon, he's animated, so you just can't have one random animated person show up. And I'm like, this, maybe we do get a Miles Morales live action movie, which I'm sure we will, but it's just a matter, of when. And then they show, I love it. This actually was to my knowledge anyway, this is the first time we didn't get a scene, but that was a fucking trailer. They showed us a trailer for that second, bonus scene at the end of the movie. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is about to be great. And what I loved about that trailer, what I love about Marvel in general, they tie everything together. Like they want to make sure you watch the stuff. So, hey, you got to watch WandaVision. You got to watch all of these Disney Plus shows, Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What If, you got to watch Hawkeye, which truth be told, I purposely didn't do Hawkeye. Today is day 1 of vacation for me. I have 13 days off. So I'm going to get through it in like the next few days. But I love that they tie it together, So there she is. There's the Scarlet Witch. And she's like, let me guess, you're here because of what happened over there. He's like, no, I'm not here for what happened over there. I'm here for, what do you know about the multiverse? And they just open it up. And I'm like, this is, again, I'll end it with Marvel never misses. Because they just don't. They just great at storytelling. Katrina, to go back to how you originally wanted to do this, where do we rank it? It's got to be number 1, right? It's got to be the best Spider-Man movie ever made because you've got everything you wanted. You got the 3 Spider-Mans together. Was it the actual meme of them like pointing at each other? No, but you got that. You got a little bit of that meme on the Statue of Liberty when they were just talking. Like that's what people wanted. People wanted all 3 of them together. The multiverse is finally, meeting, finally becoming a thing. So it has to be the number 1 Spider-Man. Yeah, I do have one friend who is like, this Spider-Man was okay. He thinks Far From Home was actually better, and I'm like, that's kind of crazy. But hey, listen, that's your opinion. Everyone, you're entitled to.
Tell your friend that he needs to go watch these Spider-Man movies, but I'm gonna give him his opinion. I'm gonna agree with you on this. This one definitely got to be number 1. Compared to a lot of these movies that we got with Spider-Man now, like this has got to be number 1, and then lower down the tier of these movies, like then it's just like the bad ones. But right now, this one's gonna be number 1. This whole movie, like I said, was like a 10. That would I've liked it a little more, or maybe a part 2. Of course, who wouldn't like a part 2? But then at the same time, we're dragging it. He wants to end his Spider-Man career on a good note, I feel, and I get it. He who wants to be old enough and just known for this one role. That's why he's doing Uncharted. He's done other great movies. He's done he's done some voiceover work for that Dr. Dolittle movie with and some other movie he did with Robert Downey Jr. And I get it. That's what Toby was afraid of. I don't know about Andrew Garfield because his career as Spider-Man ended so short that we don't know where he wants to go with it. But now with all this news, it seems like Andrew Garfield wants to come back, which I don't mind. I would want him to have his stardom as Spider-Man back to where maybe we have better directors that will probably give that Spider-Man what we actually wanted. Amazing Spider-Man 1 was good, but it didn't hit it for me. And then 2 really flopped for me, but a lot of people do like it. And I was really hoping for more. But then when they said 3 was no more or not even coming, I was just like, well, there it goes. We're probably not getting another Spider-Man for a good long time after that, just because of Spider-Man 3 and then Amazing Spider-Man 2 was just flops. But I'm glad they did come back with Tom Holland Spider-Man. Whole movie was great. The Ned and Mary Jane scene was really hit me because I was just like, damn, he was ready to talk and then tell them like what's up and who he was, because everybody doesn't know him anymore, but you do have a point there about like everybody on Earth, but everybody outer world doesn't know. Like, will know. They will come back and be like, hey, and then he'll be like, "Oh my god, guys!" And he'll probably there'll probably be a whole story about like this what happened, strange this, strange that, and then they'll probably have that one scene, but who knows when that would actually happen. Um, but yeah, it did suck for him to be like take it all back because he saw the cut and he was just like, damn, like I don't want to put her no more in danger, and it was just like one of those Amazing Spider-Man 2 moments when Gwen's dad's dying. He was just like, leave her alone, leave her be. I don't you're gonna be putting her in more danger. And then he didn't see that. He understood it, but he didn't see that. And then that's why they got back together, Gwen and him. But to go back to Tom Holland's, like, he saw it. He knows he's put her in more in danger more than one time, and more than one movie, and he just felt bad, and he probably recollected on all like, oh, I messed her up from going to college. I got her in so much danger where she almost kind of died, and and this, that, and the other. So I kind of felt bad. And then towards the end, where we moved into this grimy apartment, and I'm hoping it's New York City, but you got a point there, Cat, with the whole Boston. I wouldn't, from a recollection, to really think about it. I don't think they would move Spider-Man movie to Boston, or maybe they'll have a scene in Boston and then come back to New York for whatever reason. Who knows what happens with that? Because we got 3 more movies, so they'll figure it out. Whatever. I'm all for it, and so it kind of sucked. The Venom part that you talked about, it was that was super teased, and I was hoping that maybe like they would show Venom towards the end, not fighting, but just watching like what the hell's going on, like, and then maybe disappearing. But they really teased him. But I did like that they leave that behind. I really don't know what they're gonna do with Venom, but I thought this exact same thing. Are we getting a different Venom? Is he gone? Is flat and then I was thinking over like comics and stuff. There was a Flash Thompson Venom at one point, so I'm just like, is Flash Thompson, is that Venom symbiote gonna feel Spider-Man's powers and go there because they know he's strong? Are we gonna get a black suit Tom Holland, which would also be dope? But who knows? There's a lot. We got 3 movies. There's a lot to cover. Hopefully, we see more villains too. That's one of the things I'm really hoping for. Um, and then I'm also agreeing with Cat with the hope we get Black Cat. Hopefully, hope we hope if anybody we've seen Kingpin and Daredevil, and hopefully maybe we'll see a collab with them in a movie somehow, and seeing Kingpin also. Um, who knows? There's so much to do with Spider-Man. Spider-Man unfortunately has so many villains, so much to cover that who knows what they're gonna do with that. Um, and then that super ending, if everybody stood to all the way past the credits, the multiverse with Doctor Strange sucks because they moved it from January. They moved January is supposed to be the drop, but then they moved it to March, and then now it's moved to May, which I'm kind of cool with because that's right next to my birthday. So that's the first thing I'm definitely trying to see when that comes out. Um, and I can't wait for that movie. That's like the comic series on that was really amazing, and I hope they make it amazing. And I like that he asked Wanda what you know about the multiverse, because at the end of WandaVision, if anybody's seen that, like, you see her like reading through all these books. Agatha had one of the books that was missing from Doctor Strange's collection of books. She has that, and we don't know. I don't know if they did say what book that was, but we know that's one of the books. So maybe that has to do something with the multi universe, because Doctor Strange doesn't know a lot about it, as we all know. He doesn't read all these books. He only reads what's good for him, I'm gonna say. So I don't. I feel like at the end of that movie, of the multiverse movie with Doctor Strange, I think is there in a way they're gonna snap it all back together where everybody remembers Spider-Man. I don't know. That's my prediction on that. just can't wait for that movie. But yeah, I'm really happy with this movie, and I might just want to see it one more time.
Yeah, I plan to go see it again next week. My mom is seeing it as well because I saw it before. I was like, listen, I just needed to see it. I was that person, like a crazy person that stayed up at midnight to get the tickets.
Yeah, same here. Same
Like,
here.
yeah, I was stressed. I was really stressed because I was like, AMC, stop fucking playing. Stop playing AMC. But I got the tickets. I was that person to go. So I'm gonna have to agree this is probably my favorite Spider-Man movie. And again, I love Toby. Toby's nostalgia, childhood, and all, but I love Tom. I feel like Tom is just perfect. Perfect. I feel like he does evoke emotion very well, and then everything, even like his genuine, like he's like kind of a hero, but he's also still very again childlike, and like you could kind of relate to that a bit. Like he's still kind of innocent to an extent. Like he has shitty things happen, but you're innocent. So
Yeah.
definitely my top Spider-Man movie. I don't know. I'm hoping they don't like. This is the first time we got 3 movies where all 3 were good
Yes.
for Spider-Man. You know, they always, you know, even with like the Iron Man movies, there's the one movie is like, why the hell did you guys do this in this movie? And you got the Thor movies, and there's that one movie nobody really did like that movie out of the 3. So this is the first time Marvel did a trilogy when everybody liked all 3.
Yes.
You know, that came out. Everybody pretty
Yeah,
much had
agreed.
good things to say about all 3, which is a good thing. So I'm hoping for the next set we continue this trajectory of having good movies that don't fuck it up for us. Don't do whatever you're doing, do it well, keep tying it in. I am actually really excited to see Doctor Strange, because again, we have to take in mind to WandaVision, but also what happened at the end of Loki and what was said at the end of Loki, and like
Yes.
and implying that there's a lot of
Yep.
shit that you guys pretty much 3 very separate things happened around the same time. Really catastrophic, like, you know, really bad things happen for 3 different pieces at the same time. So who the fuck knows what they're gonna do now for not just Doctor Strange, but for all the other characters you can kind of continue with because of so much that kind of happened.
Mhm.
So I'm excited for it. I'm glad. Again, I will be seeing it again. I don't know if you guys are gonna go back again and see it like for at a couple 2 or 3 more times, but I definitely will be seeing it again because I did enjoy it. And it's very rare when I see a movie twice in the movie theater or 3 times in the movie theater. It's rare. For this, I will definitely see it because I enjoyed it so much. And again, it wasn't like there were sad moments, but it wasn't too sad. There were happy moments and there was comedy moments I was okay with. It wasn't too comedic where it's like, all right, okay, like stop, like make it serious at some point. It was just for me enough of everything. So I really, really enjoyed it. I cannot wait to what they're gonna do. I do hope we get MJ and him back, but if we don't, just make it work with another woman character that I'm not, you know, hating. Like I'm not mad. Like, ooh, who this? And now I'm automatically against the person because I like MJ and him so much. I don't want to automatically be tainted. Like, she can go. Like, I don't want to be that. Hopefully, they do it well enough that if they don't get back together, it's ended in a world that I can be happy with it. Like, I'm like, all right, well, he can move on now. It's fine. So we'll see. But I want to thank you guys for both joining me. This was super fun. And I want to give you guys the floor to kind of, if you guys have anything to promote, do so now. Tell the audience where they can find you, if you want them to follow you or any of that stuff.
Well, George.
Oh no, there's not a single thing I have to promote. I don't mind being I don't mind being featured, whether it's here, whether it's on the Bottom Line Wrestling podcast when Jason has me on, or Steve has me on once in a while in Unpopular Reviews. Like, I appreciate helping out, and whenever I could, give feedback and stuff like that. But as far as promotion for myself, no, nothing to promote. Just Kat, thank you for having me on, letting me do this. I got 2 more hours till I go see this movie again for the 5th time. But I'm excited. And again, thank you. And just like, David said, got to shout yourself out. So everybody who is watching or will be watching later, follow Kat. She's over here, actually, on my screen. She's great. She always pushes out great content, whether it's about, wrestling, movies, TV, she does her thing, and you always got to support the homie. So, Kat, keep doing what you're doing. Lewis, it was a pleasure meeting you, bro. And, maybe one day I'll actually see you in person somewhere in the world.
Yes, in that multi-universe of ours. Pat, I want to thank you for having me on the show, of course, always. Anytime. I don't do a lot of wrestling stuff, so don't invite me for that. Any other movie, you let me know. I'm a big old school wrestling, so, I can't really put my thoughts on new things, but, follow this girl. Follow this way, yeah. Follow this girl.
That's so nice.
He's doing big things out there, and I'm not proud of you. I gotta say that. And keep doing what you're doing. For me, you guys want to follow me? I'm on It's Official. It's underscore official. Um, you can find her on one of you can find me on one of her pages. Sorry. Um, I do have a podcast also. It's on the MDMC entertainment pages. You can find me there. I do a lot of interviews. I'm doing some unboxing, and I do some Pokemon cards unopening if anybody likes that. Otherwise, I'm just here for the fun of it and to talk about Spider-Man because I love Spider-Man. I cosplay Spider-Man, and my favorite Spider-Man is Toby, of course, but my like in the comic series, I got like Ben Riley. That's my favorite Spider-Man of all times, and yeah, that's it.
Well, you guys are really nice. It's very kind of you. Thank you so much. You guys know where to find me on In Cat We Trust. I'm like everywhere, even Twitch. I'm trying to get better with gaming, guys, because the last time I totally streamed and then my mic was off, and so I was talking to like nothing, I guess, for like an hour. But two people watched, so appreciate you guys for kind of hanging in there, and y'all didn't hear nothing I was saying. Uh, so I was trying to get better with the streaming part, but as far as like I do everything, I like too many things: wrestling, anime, movies, and stuff. In that case, I can probably get you guys back for 2022 because I do want to rank all of the Spider-Man movies. I did plan on doing that, I just haven't done it yet. So if you guys want to come back, we definitely can make that happen and just rank all of the Spider-Man movies.
I'm down for that.
That'd be super awesome to do. To everybody else, thank you
Absolutely.
guys for joining us. I hope you guys enjoy your holiday, Christmas, whatever you celebrate. If you don't celebrate, just enjoy, the rest of the year. It's been a really hectic, crazy 2021. It's been so weird with everything happening. And I hope that you go into 2022 and everything is great and happy and amazing and, all of that. So until next time, I will catch you guys later and I will try to have the links updated in the description. So if you guys want to follow them on Instagram, definitely do. They're cool, awesome dudes. We have a lot in common. It's like we have like a lot of very similar things. So, they're definitely cool to follow. So definitely do that. But until next time, bye guys.
Bye, guys.